There are moments in life when you wake up in the middle of the night without any clear reason. Your eyes open, your heart feels unsettled, and the room around you is silent. No messages, no voices, no movement, just a quiet that almost feels intentional. And somewhere deep inside your chest there is a gentle pull, as if something or someone is calling you. You don't hear it with your ears, you feel it with your soul. A soft nudge, a subtle invitation, a whisper that says, "Come to me." Many people think waking up at this hour is random. It is not. Nothing Allah does is random. The one who never sleeps, the one who controls your breath and your heartbeat, is the one who wakes you. He turns your heart toward Him when the world is dark so that you may find your light. There are nights when you wake up with worry, nights when your eyes open with sadness you didn't express during the day, nights when your chest feels heavy from thoughts you never said aloud. And sometimes you wake up not because something is wrong, but because Allah wants something right for you. He wakes you not to burden you, but to honor you. He wakes you not because you asked, but because He wants to give. Have you ever wondered why your heart feels different at this hour? Why your thoughts become clearer, your emotions softer, your soul more awake? Because this is the moment when the noise of the world fades and the voice of your fitrah, your pure inner truth, rises. This is the moment when the veil between you and Allah feels thinner, when the heart is open, when the world is quiet, when the angels descend, and when your Rabb calls. The Prophet told us that in the last third of the night, Allah Himself descends to the lowest heaven and asks, "Who is calling upon me? Who is seeking forgiveness? Who is asking of me?" Imagine this: the Lord of the heavens, the one who created galaxies and mountains and oceans, is asking about you. The King is looking for the one heart that is awake, the one soul that turns, the one believer who whispers even a single Ya Allah through tears, through pain, through hope. You may think your dua is small, your voice is quiet, or your faith is weak, but Allah does not measure you by the strength of your voice. He measures you by the sincerity of your heart. And sometimes the most powerful dua is made not with words, but with a trembling breath, a silent tear, or a broken "help me" from the depths of your chest. Maybe you woke up tonight because Allah wants to heal something inside you, something you've carried for too long. Maybe He wants to replace your fear with peace, your confusion with clarity, your sadness with light. Maybe He wants you to return to Him before you return to anyone else. And perhaps this moment right now is not a coincidence at all. Perhaps it is your invitation, your personal call from the one who never forgets you even when you forget yourself. When a person wakes up in the stillness of the night, at a time when the world is silent and the heart is softer than it is at any other moment of the day, there is a special kind of pull toward the one who created that heart. It is subtle, almost indescribable, yet deeply felt. It is as if something inside you knows that this moment is different, more open, more honest, more capable of receiving and responding. This quiet hour removes every distraction, every noise, every expectation from the world, leaving only you and the awareness that your Lord is near. Many people describe this moment as a sudden wakefulness, a restlessness, or a gentle stirring that they cannot explain. But if they pause for even a second, they notice that this stirring isn't random. It feels intentional. It feels purposeful. It feels like a pull, an invitation. In these moments, the heart naturally softens. The defenses you carry throughout the day, your worries, your pride, your busyness, your exhaustion, they fall away without you even trying. There's no audience, no pressure to say the perfect words, no routine to maintain. What remains is a sincerity that is often lost in daylight. When a person whispers, "Oh Allah," in this quiet hour, the words come from a place the daylight rarely touches. They come from vulnerability, from longing, from the desire to be understood and held. It is in this state that the connection to Allah becomes clearer. You feel closer not because you did something grand or extraordinary, but because the world slowed down enough for you to actually feel His nearness. The night has a way of reminding you that you are not alone, even when no one else is awake. And sometimes waking up during these hours is not about asking for something or even reciting long prayers. Sometimes it is simply about being aware that you were awakened at a moment when hearts are most receptive and realizing that this might be your opportunity to return, to reset, to reconnect. For many people, this awakening becomes a turning point. It is the moment when they finally allow themselves to be honest about their fears, their regrets, their hopes, and their longing for peace. And honesty is the doorway to closeness. When a person sits in the darkness and allows themselves to be real, the distance between them and their Lord shrinks. Not because Allah moves, He is always near, but because the person finally stops running, stops hiding, and allows their heart to lean back toward Him. This pull can feel gentle, like a soft whisper inside your soul, or it can feel intense, like something urging you to get up, to sit, to breathe, to speak, to seek. Whatever form it takes, it is a reminder that Allah knows the exact moment when your heart is ready to hear Him. He chooses the quietest hour, because that is when you are most capable of listening, not just with your ears, but with the depths of your being. And when you respond, even with a single breath, a single word, a single tear, you step into a connection that no one else can feel for you, a connection built in silence, nurtured in stillness, and strengthened by the realization that the one pulling your heart toward Him never sleeps, never forgets you, and never stops calling you back. When a person rises in the late hours of the night, at a time when the world is quiet and distractions have faded into darkness, something remarkable happens within the heart. The distance between you and your Lord feels shorter. The noise that usually surrounds your mind, responsibilities, conversations, worries, deadlines, has finally settled. And in that peace, your soul becomes more awake than your body ever could. It is in this state that a prayer rises differently. A whisper becomes weightier. A single tear carries meaning that pages of spoken words cannot capture. This is why the prayers made during Tahajjud move in a way daytime prayers often don't. The heart, humbled and softened, finally speaks honestly. When people say that dua travels straight to the heavens at this time, they are trying to express something that is felt more than understood. It is the experience of praying in a moment when nothing stands between you and sincerity. There is no hurried schedule, no eyes watching, no noise pulling your focus away. For once your heart is not split between the world and your Lord. It is fully present, fully aware, fully open. In the stillness of the night, the smallest whisper feels like a conversation. The quiet prostration feels like an embrace. You may find yourself speaking words you didn't plan to say, or feeling emotions you didn't realize you were carrying. Sometimes you go into these moments expecting to ask for one thing, and instead your soul pours out something entirely different, something truer, deeper, something you needed to face but ignored all day. And because the heart is so exposed, so unprotected from its own truths, the dua that emerges has a weight to it that is rarely found in ordinary moments. There is also a kind of clarity that only night brings. When you look at your life in the daylight, everything feels complicated. Problems seem tangled, emotions seem messy, choices seem overwhelming. But in the quiet hours before dawn, truth becomes simple. You suddenly know what matters and what doesn't. You know which pain needs healing. You know which blessing you forgot to acknowledge. You know what you truly want from Allah, not what you think you should ask for, but what your heart desperately needs. It is in this moment of honesty that your dua becomes not just a request, but a confession, a surrender, a return. And perhaps the most beautiful part is that during this hour, you don't feel the need to perform. You don't have to sound eloquent. You don't have to have perfect words. You don't even have to speak out loud. Even a breath, a sigh, a small trembling of the lips counts. Allah hears the dua that never makes it into words. He hears the prayer that forms only as a whisper inside your chest. He hears the thoughts that break you before you can articulate them. In the quiet of the night, you are not trying to impress anyone. You are simply trying to be heard. And the heart knows, deeply, instinctively, that this is the moment it is most heard, that this is the time when barriers fall, when sincerity reaches its peak, when closeness becomes tangible. Tahajjud is not powerful because it is difficult. It is powerful because it strips away everything that hides your true self from your Lord. In these silent moments, your dua rises straight, not because of the words you choose, but because of the heart that finally chooses Him. When you wake up in the depth of the night and you find yourself unsettled, restless, or simply unable to fall back asleep, it is easy to assume it's just stress or discomfort. But sometimes that moment carries a meaning far beyond what you first recognize. What you call restlessness can be a gentle nudge, a quiet signal, a soft invitation from your Lord. It's not loud. It doesn't force you. It simply opens a window, a moment where your heart is more alert than your body, and your soul is calling you towards something greater than sleep. There are times when you wake up without an alarm, not because of noise or discomfort, but because something inside you knows you need to rise. You may not understand why at first. You sit up, look around, feel the silence, and wonder what pulled you out of your sleep. But if you pause and pay attention, you might notice that your mind is unusually clear. Your heart feels heavier or softer, and your thoughts drift toward things you haven't allowed yourself to process during the day. These subtle inner shifts are not random. They often guide you toward reflection, toward vulnerability, toward turning inward and upward. This signal isn't always dramatic. Sometimes it is just an unusual wakefulness, a lingering thought, the memory of something troubling you, or the sudden awareness of a blessing you took for granted. These are moments when the heart becomes more honest than it is at any other time, when it is raw enough to admit what hurts, what confuses you, and what you hope for. And in that vulnerability, you sense that this wakefulness might actually be a chance to reconnect, to recalibrate, to realign yourself with the one who knows your heart better than you do. For many people, this moment becomes the turning point they didn't know they needed. They realize that what they interpreted as anxiety was actually a call towards stillness. What they thought was random wakefulness was a moment designed for their healing. The problems that felt overwhelming during the day suddenly look different in the quiet of the night. They appear clearer, more managed, able, less tangled. The heart speaks truths it hides when the world is awake. Regrets surface not to shame you, but to guide you. Hopes rise not to disappoint you, but to remind you that you still have dreams alive within you. Sometimes this wakefulness is a response to something you've been avoiding, an emotion, a decision, a prayer you've held back from making. The night creates a safe space for you to face it without distraction. It pulls you inward, not to overwhelm you, but to help you release what you've been carrying for too long. And when you finally let your heart speak, whether through a whispered prayer, a silent tear, or a long exhale, you feel something shift inside. A weight begins to lift. A sense of clarity returns. A calm you couldn't find during the day settles gently over you. In these quiet hours, you begin to realize that this wakefulness wasn't meant to disturb your sleep. It was meant to awaken your soul. It was an opportunity disguised as restlessness, a moment crafted for connection, reflection, and return. A reminder that you are seen, you are noticed, and you are being gently drawn back to the one who never stops calling you, even when you are too tired to notice. There is a kind of nearness that only becomes possible in the late hours of the night, when the world is quiet, your thoughts soften, and the noise inside you finally pauses long enough for you to feel something deeper. And often in those moments, a single prostration carries a weight that is very different from all the prayers you make during the day. It isn't because you suddenly became more righteous or more eloquent. It's because the heart in that hour is stripped of everything that usually stands in the way: distractions, pretenses, fears of judgment, the need to appear strong. What remains is a raw, truthful version of you that rarely appears when the sun is up. And when this version of you bows down, something profound happens inside. During the day, even when you pray with intention, your mind is often pulled in 100 directions. Your responsibilities tug at you, your emotions keep rising and falling, and your attention feels scattered. But in the stillness of the night, there is nothing demanding from you. The world is silent. The heart is softer. The soul is alert. And your prostration becomes a place of surrender rather than routine. It becomes a moment where you don't just place your forehead on the ground. You place your worries, your fears, your regrets, and every hidden part of you before the one who understands them without explanation. A single sujood at that hour can feel like release, like breathing in a way you haven't breathed all day, like finally letting your heart be held. You may go into it thinking you are just praying because you woke up, but you rise from it feeling cleansed, lighter, more anchored. This is because nighttime worship doesn't rely on the strength of your actions. It relies on the sincerity that naturally flows when nothing else competes with your attention. The night creates an intimacy that the day rarely allows. There is a reason people say that the closest a servant ever is to their Lord is in prostration. In that moment, you are physically at your lowest point, yet spiritually at your highest. You are humbled, yet deeply honored. You are silent, yet fully heard. You are alone, yet never more connected. And at night, this closeness feels magnified. You feel the distance between you and Allah shrink. Not because you moved upward, but because you finally allowed your heart to fall into Him without resistance. Sometimes in sujud, words come that you didn't plan to say. Sometimes tears come even when you try to hold them back. Sometimes you stay longer than you expected, not because you want to perf or more worship, but because you don't want the moment to end. It is in these quiet prostrations that you discover who you truly are when no one is watching. And who you are in that moment is someone deeply vulnerable, deeply honest, and deeply in need of mercy. That honesty is what turns a simple prostration into a transformative one. You may not pray long, you may not recite much, you may not know beautiful supplications, but in that one sujud, when your heart opens even a little, something shifts. A burden loosens, a wall breaks, a longing awakens. And the closeness you feel is not imagined, it is real. It is the kind of closeness that can change the way you walk into the next day. The kind of closeness that stays with you long after you get up from the prayer mat. A single prostration in the quiet of the night can take you to a place spiritually that hours of worship during the day may not reach. Not because the night is magical, but because you are different at night. More present, more humble, more you. And Allah responds to the version of you that is most sincere. There is something profoundly unique about the closeness that unfolds in the late hours of the night, when the world is asleep and the only sound you hear is your own breathing. In that stillness, a single moment of turning to your Lord carries a depth that is hard to describe. It's not about long prayers, perfectly recited verses, or beautifully structured du'as. Sometimes it is simply about one moment, one sujood, that carries you to a level of nearness that your daytime worship could not reach. It is the quiet, the vulnerability, the rawness of your heart at that hour that transforms even the smallest act into something deeply meaningful. During the day, you are surrounded by noise, literal and emotional. You are pulled by responsibilities, surrounded by people, distracted by thoughts, pressured by expectations. Even when you pray, your heart is juggling everything you are carrying, but at night, none of those distractions demand your attention. The world releases you. And in that freedom, your heart is finally able to be fully honest. A single sujood becomes not just an act of worship, but a moment of complete surrender. You bow down physically, yes, but emotionally your heart bows too. It bows in humility, in longing, in need. Sometimes you enter that sujood with no words at all. You don't know what to say, or you feel too overwhelmed to express anything. And yet, that silence speaks more than your most detailed dua ever could. Because sujood is not about articulation. It is about presence. It is about the heart admitting what it has been avoiding. It is about standing before your Lord with nothing but truth. You may not even realize what you need until you place your forehead on the ground. You may not know why you are crying until the tears fall. You may not understand your own emotions until you let yourself break in that sujood and it is in this breaking that closeness happens. One sujood can heal what months of effort couldn't. One sujood can bring clarity to a confusion you've been running from. One sujood can soften a heart that felt hardened for too long. It can lift a burden that you didn't have words to describe, because in this moment, it is not the length of your worship that matters. It is the purity of your surrender. The night strips you of pretense, and in that stripped state, your heart becomes capable of reaching a depth it never touches during the day. Even your body feels different in that sujood. You feel smaller, but not in a diminished way, in a way that reminds you that you are held by someone infinitely greater. The ground becomes a place of safety. The darkness becomes a shelter, and the stillness becomes a bridge between your heart and your Lord. And when you finally rise from that sujood, something inside you has shifted. It might be subtle, or it might feel profound, but you know you didn't rise the same person who went down. That one moment of surrender left its imprint on your heart. It reminded you of who you are, who you belong to, and where true peace comes from. A single sujood in the quiet of the night doesn't just bring you closer. It brings you close in a way that stays with you long after the night fades. It shapes your heart for the morning. It strengthens you for the day ahead. It anchors you in a connection that nothing in this world can give and nothing in this world can take away.